Thank you for that introduction, Lizo. I'm going to try to use that. Okay, so my name is Noluthando Moshesh, and I come from Focus on the Family, Durban and Hillcrest, and I am a social worker. I've just been astonished with the work that is being done out there, the programs that have been presented here, TLT, Life at the Crossroads. I'm just so amazed at everything that you guys are doing. Even the panel discussion was just absolutely amazing. And I'm just going to go right to it. As I said, I'm from Focus on the Family Africa in Durban, and the program that I'm about to present is called No Apologies. What is No Apologies? No Apologies is a character-based program that promotes abstinence from premarital sex and other risky behaviors such as drug use, violence, gambling, gangsterism, etc. It consists of 3 aspects, and throughout the units, it's what basically gets to be touched on. So the first aspect is health education. No Apologies teaches that premature sexual activity is destructive towards self and others. It poses a grave threat to young people's physical health, including teenage pregnancy and its consequences such as abortions, STIs, loss of fertility, etc. And the second aspect, No Apologies teaches young people the meaning of love. It is more than just a feeling, but a commitment which cares for the other more than self. Sex involves more than just a physical body, but the entire person. It's something that was just mentioned here as well. So it includes the human body. And when you look at a young person, when you look at a youth, you think of them, we teach them to say, you don't look at yourself as just a physical being, but there is another aspect, or there are other aspects that exist. And when you make decisions, you need to consider yourself as a whole. That includes your mind, body, spirit, and soul. So everything like that is involved, and we get to take them into their human person as a whole. So a young person normally looks at themselves like, as long as I have like this fade, nice haircut and dress in a certain way, and all those things are things that a youth is concerned about, wanting to belong and so on and so forth. But we come to a place where we say, take a look at yourself. There is a Sean that exists physically, a Sean that exists mentally, a Sean that exists psychologically, a Sean that exists in all the other aspects that we get to mention. And we do activities to make sure that they do understand what does it mean to be aware of themselves as a whole, and how the decisions and how the decisions that they take affect them as a human person. And then the next aspect is character education. Sexual behavior should be directed by values rather than by simple knowledge. No Apologies educates young people about moral dimensions of sexual conduct and the pursuit of core ethical values such as responsibility, honesty, courage, kindness, humility, and self-control in the sexual domain, as well as other risk behaviors. We do make sure that throughout the program, the young person understands clearly that we know that they have self-control. Every human being has self-control. The programs out there and other messages that are being sent out there are saying you've got very little of self-control. So we make them aware that you actually have enough self-control to make the right choices. So I'm just going to share pictures of, okay, it's kind of plain. Okay, so I'm going to share pictures in some of the schools, like in townships, urban, different kinds of, even in rural places, where we do the No Apologies program. And there's No Apologies in Pretoria North, and there's No Apologies in Paul Petersburg. And yeah, I thought to share those pictures just so you guys can just see some of the kids and the places where we have been in. Right, No Apologies talks about the truth, about love, about life, love, and sex. So it involves this outline where we have Unit 1, talks about who am I, where I mentioned making the kids aware of themselves. So it's who am I. The second one being the media in you. We all know the power of media. And unfortunately, it is there. Everything that, when they don't get answers, they go to media. Everything about them is more likely to be informed about the media. So, because it is such a very powerful force, if I can put it that way, we need to make sure that they understand that they have control over how they use media, even the things that they see on media, how to relate with those things, and what decisions, and practical ways in making decisions in terms of how to use media. And then the Unit 3 includes boundaries and choices, where we educate them that boundaries and choices are important. How many of you had boundaries when you were young? Like you clearly knew that this is my boundary. Most of us didn't have boundaries. It's only when I did the training I thought to myself, I don't recall myself having boundaries. But maybe you do have them unconsciously, but they're just not as clear. So we help them develop those boundaries, keeping what's good inside and what's bad to stay outside. And for them to understand when they're now being violated or when they start feeling uncomfortable in the absence of their parents and people that can protect them. And then, so Unit 3 also involves things like your peer pressure and so on and so forth, and practical ways of saying no. It's like something that you said just before I came up about peer pressure and the power of saying no and having people to believe you when you say no. I absolutely love that, and Unit 3 comprises of such. And then we have Unit 4 that speaks about healthy relationships. That involves abstinence until marriage, the benefits of making decisions to live an abstinence life. Now, I'm just going to go through summarized explanation of what the objective is per unit. So, who am I? The objective is to let participants know that they are unique, multidimensional individuals with intrinsic value that should be treated with care and respect. And then Unit 2, the media in you, it is to let participants know that the messages sent out by the media affect how they view love, sex, and relationships, and how to help them see how much or how little time they're spending on media activities. And then Unit 3, which talks about boundaries and choices, to help participants understand that setting emotional and physical boundaries brings freedom and is necessary for healthy relationships. And then the last unit helps to understand that healthy relationships are possible and learn the value of waiting until marriage. Now, the method we use, is that we train and mentor individual facilitators and groups such as NGOs, churches, schools, who in turn implement the program. The program currently targets grade 7 learners in schools and youths in general. Now, you'll see there below, for the groups that we've specified, we use it for a certain purpose. Like for 10 to 11 years old, we use the No Apologies program as a foundation. And then 12 to 14 years as a preventative measure. So we know that you find that in that age group, most of them still are asking themselves questions, but are not exactly sure of what's happening. But it is the right time to actually help them to prevent all those wrong decisions that could affect their lives at a long run. And then 15 plus years, we use it as a corrective measure. It's the same facilitator guide and learner guide used, but we address certain topics in a certain way with a certain purpose for each and every group. There are times where we had to have your 8 to 9, and even there we are intentional about how we are delivering the curriculum itself. And so, yes, we do also make sure that our facilitators understand the age group. They also have to make sure that everything that is being presented is presented in a way that is age appropriate. And so, why abstinence? For generations, schools and communities have shared the global teaching of values and character development to the next generation. Character traits which have been upheld as a norm for children and adolescents include responsibility, courage, fairness, honesty, respect, and self-control. It has long been assumed that such effort would improve the human condition and add deeper meaning to life and affirm the dignity of all individuals. Modesty and sexual morality were also included among these widely taught values, and abstinence until marriage was the expected standard of behavior. But a significant cultural upheaval in the 1960s and 1970s, often referred to as a sexual revolution. I don't know if you guys are aware that such did happen, and well, we are here now and looking at the things that are happening. So often referred to as a sexual revolution, led to the widespread public questioning, if not outright abandonment of these values. This ideology advocated that people should be free to have sex without boundaries of marriage, without commitment, and even without love. Film, music, television, magazines, and other popular media openly promoted the notions that sex with whomever. I'm sure we see this everywhere, all the time. With or without marital commitment or even a relationship is both normal and desirable as long as there is mutual consent and no one becomes pregnant or acquires an STI. So, the new sexual revolution did not bring about greater happiness as it's presupposed. Rather, the fallout from this dramatic shift in values has been profoundly negative, both for individual and our society as a whole. Escalating rates of divorce, teenage pregnancy, abortion, single-parent households, and have become a matter of public record. Hence, the importance of such programs. So, I do want to mention that there are other programs out there. Your Abstinence Plus programs, you name them, you know them. But we promote abstinence. The abstinence education, which is abstinence only until marriage programs. The proponents, which is us, focus on the family Africa, and the overall goal is abstaining from premarital sex until marriage. And the message of abstinence can be universally applied to all risky behaviors, such as gambling, drug use, drug abuse, and violence. Abstinence is the only way to make sure, is the only sure way to prevent STDs and unplanned pregnancy. Abstinence leads to stress-free life, no abortion, no adoption, no untimely parenting, more time to spend doing what you want to do as a young person and a growing young person. Abstinence can be universally applied to all risky behaviors, such as the ones that I had mentioned earlier. We have interesting findings where we can say our program evaluation concludes that 60% of teens aged 12 to 19 who have had sex wish they had waited longer. 75% of teens don't see anything embarrassing about admitting that they are virgins. Most learners ranked friends first and unstable home life second as the biggest challenges of achieving their goals and dreams. Majority of learners were revisited, felt positive about overcoming difficult circumstances which they are currently facing in life. Success outcomes. Focus on the family Global has reached over 2 million youth worldwide since the program inception and has witnessed young lives getting positively impacted. Feedback received by means of learner reports and refresher programs. We have trained educators to be facilitators in all 9 provinces. The No Apologies program has been delivered in other African countries such as DRC, Uganda, Kenya, Mozambique, with translations in French and Portuguese. No Apologies has been extensively delivered and presented in different languages such as isiZulu, Xhosa, Afrikaans, and English. That is in the older version, but because it's ongoing, it undergoes changes. Those aspects that are mentioned there are also there are going to be developments in it, especially with the language, and being South Africa here, we do need those. But you find in instances where you get facilitators that receive it in English but then translate it in isiZulu. That goes for even the activities where you have to explain that this is what the question means, to make sure that the kids are able to grasp what is being taught. Okay. So, partners in advocating for abstinence. We say first, parents. No one knows your child like you do, and no expert can communicate your values better than you. When it comes to your child, you are an expert. Children and teens want assurance that their parents understand what they are going through, and so child and parent connectedness, along with clearly stated expectations for behavior, has been found to be the key factor in reducing all forms of risky behaviors. It is extremely critical for parents and educators to be prepared to provide solid answers to tough but legitimate questions that teenagers ask about sex, love, and relationships. And that in turn promotes well-reasoned decisions, positive values, and ultimately a healthy future. So we do mention that for parents, you are our key partners, as well as schools. We've trained in, or most of the schools in SA, we've trained educators in this program. We are opening this to churches as well, to say you have youth at your churches. Allow us to train you and equip you for the youth that you are entrusted with. And also community-based organizations, we provide trainings for them too, as well as government departments. Sorry. So why do we say no apologies? The life of a teenager is a very critical phase that requires special attention regarding good decision-making. Imagine walking into a room full of many doors and you had the opportunity to walk into any of them. Think of yourself as a 15-year-old, a 14-year-old, and there's this room that has plenty of doors. One of them may be written drug use, premarital sex, pornography, substance abuse, all your dreams, and a whole lot of things. The temptation to go for what is wrong is really high. And I feel like we do underestimate the times our kids are living in. And sometimes we need to be intentional about getting information so that we can assist them in their youth years. So the life of a teenager poses such opportunities, and that's why we say no apologies, meaning live a life of no regrets. And so I have a lot to say about the program and a whole lot of things, and I'm mindful of time. And I do want to say I'm free to engage with you guys. And I did mention that it goes from churches to schools to even parenting, parents, where we have, because of COVID, we thought the parents are really getting frustrated. And this year alone, we started doing online trainings for parents, training them in the No Apologies program. You would be able to see that in the beginning I mentioned the age groups and that we are training young people, right? But we thought to just do things differently and just get the parents to just think like a teenager, so that they'll be able to relate with the teenagers the way that their young people are needing to relate to them. Now, with the parenting one, it was quite interesting because we had to get them to be like children. We say, think of yourself as a 13-year-old. What were you going through when you were 13 years old? What were you going through? What were the challenges and the difficulties that you went through as a teenager? Now, think of your child right now and think about how they are really needing guidance from you, and trustworthy guidance. And with everything that is going on, the stuff that we've been talking about with the CSE and everything, we find it so encouraging that more parents are actually coming to us to say, train us in the No Apologies program so that we can start these conversations at home. So yes, that is our No Apologies. For more information, please engage with us. And we do have a breakdown of everything that you would need to know in order for you to be trained in the program and run this program. You can do it with schools, you can do it. We have educators that are currently running it at schools. We have been funded by DSD with, in some of parts of KZN to run these programs. And so we are here for you, and we are here to equip you however way we can. And we do take the life of a youth really seriously. And yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that presentation on Noluthando. It was really inspirational. I can see, or I can hear that No Apologies is making an incredible impact in the communities, and it's wonderful that you also, you work with a big range of stakeholders, from parents to churches to community members, and even the Department of Social Development. And like we said also earlier, those partnerships are really important.